The mammoth is bleeding. One dark line runs down its rear leg and stains the snow behind it. Every few steps, the animal slows. Every time it slows, the hunters believe the end is close. They have already followed it across a frozen river, through a stand of twisted trees, and over 2 low ridges. The oldest hunter looks at the sinking sun and tells the group to turn back. The youngest points at the fresh blood and says the same thing again, 1 more ridge. The animal cannot keep moving forever, but neither can they. What was the deadliest mistake Ice Age hunters could make? It was not always choosing the wrong weapon or attacking the wrong animal. Sometimes it was continuing a hunt after the cost had become greater than the reward. This is not the reconstruction of one known prehistoric disaster. No archaeologist can point to a line of footprints and prove that one specific group ignored a warning, followed a wounded mammoth too far, and vanished in a storm. It is a plausible survival problem built from the realities of mobile hunting. Distance costs energy. Large animals are difficult to kill. Carcasses are difficult to transport, and a successful hunt can create as many problems as it solves. At sunrise, the hunt seems worth every risk. The camp has little food left. The previous hunt failed. Children are chewing old pieces of hide to distract themselves from hunger. A wounded mammoth could provide meat, fat, bone, hide, sinew, and fuel. It could feed many people. It could also save the hunters from returning to camp empty-handed for the 3rd time. The animal is already injured. Perhaps another predator attacked it. Perhaps a spear struck it earlier. Perhaps it slipped on ice. The hunters do not know exactly what happened. They only see an opportunity. Fresh tracks cut across the snow. Drops of blood confirm that the mammoth is weakening. The group begins to follow. At first, the decision is sensible. The weather is clear. The wind is light. The hunters carry spears, cutting tools, and a little food. The camp is still visible behind them as a thin line of smoke. If the animal turns, they can retreat. If it falls, they can begin butchering before midday. Then the mammoth crosses the first ridge. The oldest hunter stops. From the top, he looks back at the camp smoke. It is smaller now, but still visible. The mammoth appears below them, moving slowly through a shallow valley. The youngest hunter smiles. They are close. 1 more ridge. The group descends. The mammoth does not collapse. Large animals can continue moving after injuries that would stop a human. Its size protects it. Its thick body retains heat. Its long stride keeps distance between itself and the hunters. The blood trail remains visible, but it becomes thinner. The hunters spend energy with every step. Snow makes walking harder. Heavy clothing limits movement. Spears, stone tools, and hide bags must be carried. They are not only following an animal, they are paying for the hunt with calories they cannot recover unless the hunt succeeds. This is where hope becomes dangerous. Each new sign appears to prove that success is near. A deep footprint suggests the mammoth stumbled. A patch of blood looks larger than the last. A broken branch suggests it pushed through the trees in panic. The hunters have already invested hours. Turning back now would make those hours feel wasted. The oldest hunter looks at the sky again. Clouds have appeared in the west. The wind carries fine grains of snow across the ground. He says they should leave. The youngest hunter points toward the next ridge. 1 more ridge. The group continues. The mistake is not stupidity. It is a very human way of thinking. The more effort people spend on a goal, the harder it becomes to abandon that goal. The hunters are hungry. Their families are hungry. They have a blood trail in front of them and an empty camp behind them. Every reason to stop can be answered with the same thought. We are already so close. But distance has 2 directions. Every step away from camp must eventually be walked again. The return journey will not begin with fresh legs. It will begin after the chase, after the cold, and possibly after an injury. If the hunt succeeds, the hunters may also have to carry meat. The path home will be harder than the path out. By midday, the smoke from camp is gone. The group can no longer use it as a landmark. They remember the river and the ridges, but the landscape is changing. Wind moves loose snow across their earlier footprints. The sky becomes flat and gray. Shadows disappear. Hills that look distinct in the morning begin to look alike. Then they see the mammoth again. It stands below the 3rd ridge, breathing heavily. 1 rear leg shakes. The hunters spread out. The oldest hunter no longer argues. They have gone too far to return with nothing, and the animal finally appears vulnerable. The first spear misses. The mammoth turns with terrifying speed. A hunter falls. Another drops his weapon and runs. The animal charges uphill, then swerves as a second spear strikes its side. Snow explodes beneath its feet. For a moment, the group is no longer hunting. They are trying not to be crushed. The mammoth retreats, but one hunter cannot stand. His ankle has twisted beneath him. He can walk only if 2 people support him. Now the cost of continuing has changed. The group has lost time, a spear, and the speed of one member. The safe decision is clearer than before. Then they notice that the mammoth has stopped again. One more ridge. They follow. Near sunset, the animal falls. The hunters shout. Some laugh. One kneels in the snow from exhaustion. After hours of doubt, they were right. The mammoth could not run forever. But success is not the end of a large animal hunt. It is the beginning of transport. The carcass is enormous. The hunters cannot drag it to camp. They cannot carry all the meat. They must cut through thick hide, remove selected portions, protect the food from scavengers, and decide what to leave behind. Their stone edges dull. Their hands become wet with blood. The temperature drops. The youngest hunter had imagined the mammoth as food. Now it is a mountain of work. Darkness approaches before they finish. The smell of blood spreads across the valley. Ravens circle above. Somewhere beyond the ridge, another animal calls. The hunters are no longer following a trail. Predators may now be following them. They take only what they can carry. Meat is wrapped in hide. Fat is packed into bags. Useful bones are abandoned because they are too heavy. The injured hunter receives no load, but he still requires 2 people beside him. Then the snow begins. At first, it is light. The group follows its own path back toward the ridge, but wind fills the tracks behind them. The valley disappears in white. Without the camp smoke, they must rely on memory. The shape of a hill, a line of trees, the direction of the river, the feel of the wind. The youngest hunter says the river is to the left. The oldest says it is ahead. Both sound certain. The group chooses left. An hour later, they reach a steep drop they have never seen. They turn around. The meat that promised to save the camp now slows every step. One hunter drops part of his load. Another refuses, they argue. The person carrying the most food believes the others are asking him to waste the entire hunt. The injured hunter shivers while they decide. This is the cruel twist. A successful kill can become more dangerous than a failed hunt. Failure allows hunters to turn home early. Success can keep them at the carcass until dark, cover them in blood, attract predators, load them with weight, and convince them that abandoning meat would make every risk meaningless. The oldest hunter orders them to leave half the food. The youngest refuses until a howl sounds closer than before. The meat is dropped. They move faster, but not fast enough. The injured hunter begins to stumble. One person gives him an arm, then another takes his other side. Now 3 people move at the speed of the weakest. This is not a failure of cooperation. Supporting him may be the only reason he survives. But it also means the group cannot outrun danger or cover distance quickly. Back at camp, nobody knows what happened. The fire is fed through the night. People listen for voices in the wind. The children do not know that the hunters succeeded. They only know the group has not returned. The search party cannot leave safely in darkness. If more people become lost, one hunting mistake could divide the entire camp. The hunters finally reach the frozen river after midnight. They were walking in the wrong direction for hours. The river gives them a line to follow, but the ice has changed. Wind has pushed snow over weak sections. Crossing in darkness is dangerous. Remaining outside is also dangerous. They shelter beside the bank, using a small flame and the little dry fuel they carried. Nobody sleeps deeply. The mammoth meat freezes beside them. The youngest hunter no longer speaks about victory. By morning, they return to camp with far less food than they cut from the carcass. Some meat was abandoned. Some may be taken by scavengers. They may attempt another trip, but the weather could erase the location or make the journey impossible. The hunt was successful. The decision was nearly fatal. Ice Age people were not reckless fools. Surviving in cold environments required knowledge, planning, cooperation, memory, and the ability to judge risk. Hunters who never took chances would often return with nothing. Hunters who took every chance would not survive for long. The difficult skill was knowing when useful courage had become dangerous commitment. There was no universal rule. A distant hunt might be worth the risk if the camp desperately needed food, the weather was stable, and enough people could transport the carcass. Turning back too early could also cost lives. Prehistoric survival was full of decisions made without complete information. That is why the deadliest mistake was not simply walking far or hunting a mammoth. It was allowing one promising sign to erase every warning around it. The blood trail said the animal was weakening. The clouds said the weather was changing. The sinking sun said time was disappearing. The injured hunter said the group was losing mobility. The distance said the return would be harder, but hope spoke louder. Return to the moment on the ridge. The oldest hunter looks toward the camp. The youngest points toward the mammoth. Neither person is a coward. Neither person is a fool. One is thinking about the food they might gain. The other is thinking about the distance they must survive. The mammoth disappears beyond the hill. The group has only seconds to choose. One more ridge may bring the greatest reward they have seen in months, or it may carry them beyond the point from which everyone returns. Ice Age hunters survived because they were brave enough to face enormous animals with simple weapons. But bravery was only half of survival. They also had to be brave enough to stop. The deadliest mistake was not losing the animal. It was following it farther than the group could survive.